Hi, I'm Brianne Mills. This is my rhetoric analysis in the field of developmental psychology, particularly in the Big Five personality test. Rhetoric strategies are used in many academic discourses for understanding discipline within certain communities. In order to study writing differences, I examined 3 academic journals, which are listed on this slide. In order to comprehend this analysis, a brief understanding of this field is required. The Big Five personality test, that is defined by Soto, John, Gosling, and Potter, is the years spanning late childhood and adolescence constitute a time of considerable biological, social, and psychological change. These rapid developments raise question about the capacity of children and the adolescents to report about their own personality traits, that is, their characteristics, patterns of thoughts, feelings, and behavior. This test helps explore personality with respect to the 5 major dimensions, which include openness, conscientiousness, agreeableness, extroversion, and neuroticism. I will analyze rhetorical appeal, which includes ethos, logos, pathos, while also analyzing rhetorical style, including diction, syntax, mood, tone, and details for each of these papers. The structure of all 3 papers are in standard paragraph format with general headings for each paragraph. I use the same format for my paper. Each academic paper had similar hypotheses but worded them very differently. For example, I listed the hypothesis of the article titled "The Developmental Psychometrics of Big Five Self-Reports from ages 10 to 20 and the article titled Age Differences in Personality Traits from ages 10 to 65. You can pause this video and read exactly what it says, but just through their separate writing styles, they describe the alike results. They each used unbiased language that was appropriate for each paper, which includes ethos, logos, and pathos. All 3 academic journals used ethos, and they had between 80 to 129 references to represent their credibility, which they used during their descriptions. They did, however, have dissimilar amounts of participants, varying in a wide range from 1 million to only 1,000. The more participants there are in a study, the more reliable the results will be, which is difficult to convince an audience of credibility when there are only 1,000 participants. Similarly, the period of time the results were taken from is another huge factor, which only 2 out of 3 papers collected data over 6 to 7 year periods, where the last paper only collected data over a 2-year period, which, questions their credibility. Logos was also used in these articles when they cited facts and statistics from similar studies to argue their hypotheses, which were correct. I listed an example of logos used on this page. You can go ahead and pause it. It's just a fact. None of these academic papers used pathos in their writing. They all justified their research strictly by facts and statistics from each study. None of these authors used emotional appeal in their writing. Most of the information and results were to persuade the writer to believe the argument was accurate. Their choice of words led to different types of diction that I'm not going to get into due to time, but this just gives the reader or listener insight on the writer's character style. Each author used syntax differently, but altogether, their sentences imply descriptive, prolonged interpretations. Although each academic paper and their writing style was very informative on the subject of the Big Five personality test, every single article just seemed tedious because they were all extremely lengthy and often repetitive, most likely to get their point across. The mood that I received when reading all of these articles was jaded, again because it was very lengthy and lacked emotion. Each paper had a particular tone due to their attitudes towards the topic. The first article that I looked at, it had a dignified and informative tone because the writing was serious and factual. The second article I looked at, it had a directed and impartial tone because the writing was honest and objective. The last article I looked at, it had a restrained tone due to an emotion and the use of words. All sorts of punctuation was used, such as periods, dashes, semicolons, and colons, which is important because it can change the meaning of a sentence. For the most part, all the academic journals lacked imagery. Instead of showing the reader the main ideas through sensory details, the structure of language was straightforward. In conclusion, the three academic papers researched the Big Five personality test and the subject of developmental psychology. Each author used unique writing strategies for their particular discourse and audience. Although they were all different in approach of their hypotheses, it came to comparable results in the end. Modes of persuasion were used to convince the audience of their findings, mainly using ethos and logos. All the papers had academic references and a long time span of collecting data to imply their reliability. In contrast to a huge sample size they used in two studies, one study only had 1,000 participants in a 2-year period, which is too small in size and time to be certain that the results were true to the majority of the population. All of these papers struggled with pathos and imagery, making them dull and heavy readings. However, they all featured an objective, unbiased use of language to present their discovery of personality traits through preteens and adult stages in life. Punctuation played an important role in giving intended meaning to the usage of language in each scholarly paper. Rhetoric techniques influence the author's ultimate goal to persuade and evoke the reader's attention to their argument. The discourse of developmental psychology and the procedure of discipline aid to the intention of a common goal and interest within the community.